What's up, everybody? Welcome to a special exclusive with a Canadian soccer legend, Jay Chapman. How are you, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming. I guess a lot of things have been going on as well. You're still currently in soccer as well. The World Cup happened. So what is going on right now?
Yeah. So right now, I still currently am playing. I'm not currently with the team right now. I had a little bit of kind of health things happen this winter, so I wasn't sure if I was going to keep playing with that, but started to kind of turn the corner with that. So still available, still kind of seeing what the future holds, but kind of in a couple different avenues right now, doing a little bit of coaching, doing a little bit of kind of things outside the game and seeing what's next, but still very much in the game and looking to kind of be a part of it, especially with the kind of influx of soccer that's just been in Canada, with the World Cup and everything that's been here. So been a little bit busy with different ventures, but excited to be here.
Exactly. Like, you've had so many different accomplishments. Well, MLS Cup champions as well, Canadian Cups, and under 17 as well with Team Canada silver medalist as well. Like, it just speaks for itself. Yeah. Itself. Like, if you could recap everything itself, like, what is the one moment that you're just most proud of?
I think the moment I'm most proud of would definitely be my first cap with the national team. It's tough because obviously the 2017 MLS Cup was very huge for me as well. But I would say just kind of putting on the Team Canada jersey for the first time. It was something that I dreamt of as a kid. I went to a lot of kind of national team games growing up here at BMO. So I was thought it was something that was a dream to do, and kind of when I did that, it was surreal, and it was definitely a very proud moment for me, but also for my family, which
Well said. Now, what got you into soccer?
It's actually a funny story. A lot of people, I answer that question a lot, and it's actually I feel like some people don't have an easy answer. I do actually. So when I started playing soccer when I was 4. So again, I grew up in Brampton, and I was a very energetic kid, and obviously there's a lot of sports going on in Brampton. And so my mom actually put me in T-ball when I was around 4. And again, being an energetic kid, I hated it. Like I needed to move, and I was tired of just having to wait to go and hit the ball. So my mom was like, okay, he's got energy, maybe we'll go put him in soccer. So brings me over to the local park. I think it might have been Chinguzi Park at that point. That was having just local wasn't rep obviously, but just soccer. Anyways, puts me into it. My first game, I scored 11 goals. Yeah, 11 goals my first game, and so it was like the coach came up to my mom after the game. She tells the story better than I do, but she was like, "Hey, I think your son is a little bit above this level. You should introduce him to this coach." And so then I started actually playing 2 years up, it kind of just went from there. I was I fell in love with it. My mom always says, obviously in youth soccer, when you're young, everyone kind of gravitates towards the ball, and there's a big kind of huddle around the ball. She said I always used to stand on the outskirts of it and wait for the ball to come out, and I was pretty quick, so I would wait for the ball to come out, and then I'd just dribble down the field and score. So I kind of had just a know-how, and I just fell in love with it because I was good at it, and the rest was kind of history. So
exactly. Well said. Now, before attending Michigan State as well, you were on the TFC Academy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that right there.
Yeah, TFC Academy is great. So I started with the Academy, I think it was right after I came back or before I went to the U17 World Cup. So I was actually playing my youth soccer in Ajax, which we were one of the best teams in Ontario at that time. And so I started getting, a little bit of notoriety through that. We were playing, I think we won the national championship 1 year, and then that's when I was with the provincial program back in the day, getting called into national team camps. So obviously with that, you're in the national team picture. TFC is going to come calling. So yeah, I think I joined them I was with them for maybe about a year and a half before I went to school, and it was great. I worked with Danny Dicchio there, and Jimmy Brennan, who's still a close friend of mine. I played with him in the Legends game. So I owe a lot of my kind of pivotal development years to Danny Dicchio and Jimmy Brennan with the TFC Academy at that point, because they kind of turned me from a kid to kind of a man, and started training with the first team a little bit back then when Jason Bent was running. He was running the kind of the reserve team, and then it's when actually I think it was Aaron Winter who was the coach of TFC back then, with the Dutch guys. So he started getting into the first team picture then, but decided to go to school. Just didn't think I was ready. So but I owe a lot of, again, my successes to TFC back then, and then obviously to TFC when I played with them after.
Exactly. Now, 2011 was a huge year for you as well. Showed here under 17 Concaf. You guys got the silver medal, and then also the World Cup right after. How was that right there? Just represent Team Canada at a young age, at 17.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Obviously, that's the kind of first, I would say, first really look into potential pro soccer and what it kind of looks like at that age, and so obviously I grew up with a lot of the guys that were on the national team. Again, a large amount of the players that were on that team were from Ontario, so again, it was a good experience, playing with the national team, and obviously going to the World Cup was fantastic. That was kind of again the dream before this kind of dream that Canada's in the in the full men's team, because we hadn't done that in a long time. Yeah. So again, that was the closest thing that we ever thought maybe we were going to get to playing in a World Cup, was the U17. So it was fantastic. We went to Mexico, and we had England in our group, we had Uruguay in our group, and I remember we played against Raheem Sterling there, which was wow. Yeah, and he was young
Sterling at that time. Yeah,
yeah, he was again. They had great players on their team, but he was the one that was levels above from that age, early on, and you could see what the standard was in the rest of the world at that young age. And so, yeah, fantastic. I was there when we scored the infamous goal. Quillan Roberts, our goalie, scored on England from half, which was I forget. I almost I don't even remember. I was in shock when that happened. So super cool memories. And again, that just kind of being able to go to an event like that, it kind of spurred my interest in for soccer even more, and made me think, hey, maybe I can turn this into a profession.
Exactly. And then 2012 to 14 in Michigan as well. Yeah. You got, I believe, 64 caps. And if I can read right here, it says scored 12 goals, 14 assists. But this is even more crazy. 2014, you were named the first team All-American. Yeah. And then a Mac Herman Trophy semifinalist. And then Big Ten Midfielder of the Year. Yeah. Come on. That speaks for itself right there. Yeah. Just how about that 2 years there? Was it 2 years exactly in Michigan?
So, yeah, it was basically 2.5. So 3 seasons. So, yeah. So I, my freshman, my sophomore, and my junior year. And yeah, it was fantastic. Listen, college, I think, again, back then was, basically, unless you were signing with a first team immediately, that was basically the route that you have to go. I think it's great that now, again, you have something like the CPL where Canadian players who maybe don't have that route can do. And I think it's amazing. But for me, that was the best route. And I'm really glad that I did it, because I think at that time, again, I was still pretty, again, I was always tall, but I was still pretty scrawny for my age. So I think when I went to school, I developed a lot physically, and I learned how to win. When I went there, I worked with Coach Damon Rensing, who's still there, who's was also a coach that I owe a lot to. He allowed me to, essentially be the guy. And I think, that developed my confidence a lot. And we were also very successful there. We went to 2 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8, and we played in one of the best conferences. So, it was good, but I chose to leave early too, just because after the 2014 year, had a really good year. I had actually just I'd gone on a couple trials one trial, but multiple times. I was over at Stoke City. I would go there kind of in my March breaks, and so I was kind of flirting with the fact of leaving college to go pro, and I think that was the kind of right time after having a good year.
Exactly. In 2015, the homecoming. Yeah. You come home, sign with TFC, and then after that, everything's history basically. Yeah. Let's talk about that. What was that feeling coming back home and just signing I believe it's called a homegrown contract? Yeah. So again, that was, we talk about, I keep saying everything's surreal. It was kind of, all these kind of
moments were
it's meant to be.
Were pivotal, right? So again, I had a few different kind of avenues that after that year I was looking at. I was potentially gonna go over to Europe. There was a couple other teams that were looking at me in the US in terms of me being a draft pick. So again, I had some avenues, and then I hadn't talked to TFC when I was in college. So again, it was always somewhere that I felt like was home, but we hadn't had any communication in terms of when I was in school. So they kind of came in around the draft, and my agent that I was working with at the time, he'd mentioned, he's like, hey, like, Toronto's very interested. They'd like to offer you. And I was like, wow, like, that's, again, obviously I needed to explore that. So, we had a great conversation with Greg at the time, who was the coach. He had like just gotten there. I thought that was, to start my career in my hometown would be, probably the easiest of transitions, but also would mean a lot to me. So, I'm a pretty close family guy, so the fact that my parents could come in and watch me play was huge. And I'm glad I made that choice.
Exactly. You're saying family guy. How important is family to you?
Yeah, fantastic. It's everything to me, right? I'm very close with my mom, and my dad is a pro golfer, and so he's traveled, and I come from a sports family. So again, we've lived in different places throughout the world, but family's huge to me in terms of not just for everyday life, but for where I've been able to be in my sport. My mom used to drive me 3 hours from after we moved from Brampton. I moved out past the kind of Durham areas, and so wasn't playing in Brampton anymore. I used to go out and play in Kingston and in Ottawa through youth. Yeah. So my mom used to drive me, a couple times a week, 3 hours to practice, and then, home. So again, I wouldn't be, the Jay Chapman that I am without her. So, I've always obviously been very grateful to her for that. And I've tried to repay those efforts with, being successful on the pitch.
Exactly. And that's the real MVP if you think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly.
That's the same answer every time. Yeah. Someone asks me that, it's definitely her.
Exactly, because they don't really see the hard work. They see the hard work, dedication that you put in, because obviously there's always the training, the videos, all that stuff, but really the sacrifice that the parents put, whoever brought you up, basically.
Yeah. It's always such an interesting thing to kind of talk about too, because, everyone, you watch these players on the pitch, and, everyone has different stories. But again, a lot of the people you see on the pitch, they're there due to sacrifices that their parents have made, right? So, it's all well and good to be like, he's so lucky that he's doing this as a profession and everything. And well, mind you, being a professional athlete in any aspect, there's definitely, you are lucky to do that, but there's also a lot of grind, and there's a lot of sacrifices that not only, the players have made, but their families as well. So yeah, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it.
Exactly. Now let's talk about the infamous 2017 run, MLS Championship to the city, which the city was vibrant because we haven't seen a championship in a very, very long time. Yeah. Before besides the Argos, it was probably the Blue Jays.
Sure.
That just made it just very. I was actually at the parade too. I believe it started at the by the Scotiabank Arena.
Yep.
You guys were in that bus and all the way to. I actually followed along. It went all the way to City Hall.
Yeah.
Yes. And the infamous your picture with the champagne. I remember. Yeah. Yes. It was cold that day too.
Freezing.
It was freezing.
We were hot.
Yeah. I love it. Now that core there, Altidore, Giovenco, the list goes on and on. Like, talk about that right there, that run, 2017.
Yeah, this is my favorite story, honestly. So 2017 was a year that obviously we had just lost in the final against Seattle, the year prior, and we thought we had the team, and in my respects, we still do have the team that should have won it. Again, Seattle was kind of like our arch nemesis that whole time, and we always felt that we were a better team, but again, they knew how to get results as well. So anyways, we had a really bitter kind of taste in our mouth after, the 2016 year. And I remember that off season, it felt like super, super short. And I think it was because it was and I talked to my teammates about that too, and they were the same, that felt like we had no time off ever. And I think it was honestly because we were just so anxious to kind of get back. we basically had the same squad, and obviously we made some key additions with Victor Vasquez coming in, and who was very pivotal to our success in that year too. But we had a very similar core, and so we were we knew that we had the tools to get back to where we wanted to. So anyways, we started the year, and it almost just kind of felt like it just came natural, like we had a purpose, and there was no way we weren't going back to that final. And again, that, like I always tell people too, like that was a year, honestly, like we had so much fun that year off the field as well. Like it was, obviously, like we took care of business, but it was a team that guys just enjoyed being around each other, and that's very rare in sports, to have a collective, a full group of men that enjoy hanging out with each other, not only when you have to show up and do your job, but also off the pitch as well. So and that's what we had, and it was special. We had guys that can win you games when maybe you didn't even deserve to win games. Like you want to talk about Seba, again, one of the best players I've played with, one of the best players the league has ever seen, and but that's a guy that on days maybe we weren't at our best, he could score a goal that would kind of leave you questioning, like, what did I just see? And that's exactly what we were. We were we had difference makers, and then we had just a group of guys that loved the city, wanted to do well for the city, and we're just very close. So
exactly. But now, will you consider? I know there's a whole debate of other debates. Well, sure. That obviously, but sure. The debate for TFC. Do you think Giovenco is the greatest TFC player ever? So you have the Dickios Dicchio did a lot of. He scored obviously the first goal will go down in history.
Sure.
But I mean, as in stuff to win us, this and that. I mean, even if you don't want to answer this, but I believe Giovenco's probably the best TFC player of all time.
Yeah. I would agree. I mean, obviously you have the D-Rose, who are Staple still does so much for the club. Yeah. Again, you have Danny as well, who I was just working with last year. He was my coach again when I was in Detroit. So hold him in very high regard, and there's been a lot of pivotal people for the club. But I think in terms of, if you're talking about success, and you're talking about changing the culture of the team, and obviously we can talk about Michael, who needs his flowers.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
He's the ultimate pro, and you don't have Seba without Michael.
Without Michael Bradley, as a captain, of
and
course.
Josie as well. Again, they were the perfect.
What a
DPs.
core! Wow.
They were the perfect. They all had their own ways to get the best out of us as a group, and so they all deserve their flowers. But for me, Seba is the best, because he demanded a lot out of us as teammates, but he also earned our respect, and earned the ability to ask us to be better because of what he did on the field. And again, everyone who watched him saw it, the things he was able to do. So not only did he have talent, but he backed up a lot of the things that he said he was going to do. So
exactly. Now, what made the years at TFC so memorable for you? What made it memorable?
I mean, I think obviously, the big games. Obviously, we played in a lot of big games. Again, we went to 3 finals. We were in countless Canadian championships, Concaf Champions League finals. So again, big games. But honestly, for me, and it's actually something that our coach Greg Vanny said after we won the final, and he said it's something I always think about. It's championships and teams and games come and go, but when you're kind of done your career and you're at the end of it, and you have your kind of walk down memory lane, you always remember the people that you did it with, and so for me, again, I think, I always love to think about the moments and how I felt during, these titles and stuff. But for me, I still think about the teammates that I had. And again, some of those guys, a lot of those guys are still probably my closest friends to this game. I mean, you talk about guys like Alex Bono, who again we were thick as thieves, me and him. He's still my best friend, right? So we still we still see each other all the time. We still do New Year's together every year. So and then you got guys like Richie Laray and Jonathan Osorio who are still there,
Brampton boys,
still putting in work.
Yeah.
Brampton guys as well, and those are two. I was just at Oso's wedding, and Richie's one of my close friends as well as Oso. So those are guys that Jordan Hamilton as well, guys that are from here, and we were able to kind of do something together. And I think when you win a title, you not only are you just winning it, for the city, for the club, but you also kind of form a bond that's kind of unbreakable,
like a brotherhood
almost. Yeah, like an unspeakable bond that it doesn't matter where you go or what you do. Whenever you see those guys, you're always gonna be like, hey, I won with those guys. We have something that no one can take away. So I think that's kind of what I when I think back, and people ask me like, oh, like what are you like? It was the people that I did it with, and again, I want to talk about the staff as well. They were fantastic in how they set us up for games and making everybody better, even if you weren't playing. Again, I had moments when I wasn't playing a ton, but even when I was in training sessions, I still felt like I was getting better, and I think that's what you want as a player. And again, those years in Toronto were by far my favorite as a pro.
Special for sure.
Yeah.
Now, getting that national call up to the senior team, and you scored a goal in that Bermuda game. It was 4-2, I believe.
Yeah.
How was that feeling, just getting called up to your senior? Because that's the highest. I mean, obviously MLS Cup, this and that, but I mean, it gets to a higher level. Like you represent your national team.
Yeah.
Like just representing, even scoring a goal as well. Like how was that feeling?
Yeah, it was amazing. Again, anytime I got to put on the maple leaf, it was special for me, because again, it's a little different than playing club football. Playing for your country, there's a different set of eyes on you as well. Again, you can be a TFC fan, but maybe don't follow the game. Whereas when you play for your national team, you have a whole country that is watching you, and so for me, it was very special. I was, very proud. I'd been wanting to be a part of the national team setup for a while, and I think I knew kind of some college team guys that I played with that were in college that had kind of gotten called up to the U20s and the kind of U23s, and I never was a part of the U20s or any things like that. So it was kind of went from U17 to the straight national team. So it was kind of a long time from when I was in that picture. So it was super important for me to kind of do what I can to get back there and be a part of it. So when I did, I was very grateful and happy to be a part of it. And then obviously scoring on my debut was awesome. Anytime you can score on a debut, it's going to give you an even better memory. Just not only are you achieving something, but you're also you're becoming a part of history for that game, and it always feels good scoring. So.
Exactly. Now, as you all know, this year the World Cup was at home, which was just iconic. I actually had the honor to attend also some games. I wasn't, because my background's Greek. I was born in Canada,
Sure.
Similar to you, English and Canadian. But just hearing the other teams' national anthems gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
I never got teary-eyed, even Canada, Bosnia, of course, but just that feeling, just especially at a big stage, especially seeing your friends on the team as well.
Oh, man.
Just how is that, especially for you? Do you think that final 16, I'll tell my buddies too, make 32, it's great accomplishment. 16 to me is even you could even say the semifinals or the finals. I'm obviously making it, but that was such a great accomplishment. How do you think overall their performance?
Yeah, look, again, just the fact that Canada, we were able to have something like that is amazing. And again, it's gonna do it's gonna do wonders, not just for the players on that team, but for this game in this country, and it already is. But for me, I was very, very proud of the team. Again, I came into the national team picture when a lot of those guys did, again, around the same age. So a lot of good friends on that team, and I'm super happy to see a lot of them still playing at a really high level. And so again, watching them and being able to kind of be with on the other side of it, watching from a screen was again, was a little jealous, but as you would be, but still very, very proud of them, and I can't believe how well they did. They deserved it. Again, I think we have a lot of players now that are starting to get some notoriety in terms of back when, we were growing up, like it was very difficult to go to Europe, and now it's kind of becoming second nature. And I think that's a credit to, these guys on this team that are kind of, they're pushing the narrative and kind of pushing the boundaries on what a Canadian soccer player can be. So I think it's, with their performance in the World Cup and I think the round of 16, they should be very proud. I think probably that's where we should have finished. I think, again, we weren't at full strength. Obviously, we were missing Alfonso. Obviously, Ismail going down was terrible. And, obviously we had Flores who got injured. So, again, I don't think we were ever at full strength in that World Cup. And it would have been really fun to see a full strength Canada there. But, again, for the guys that, you talk about, like the Defugerols who, he's a young player and he was playing against, world-class players and came in and was one of the best defenders in the tournament, right? I think, a lot of guys made a name for themselves there and played above themselves. And that goes to show, what a country backing can do for players. So again, the whole thing was great, not only, for the guys, but it was good for the country and it was good for the future of the game in Canada.
Exactly. And I want to give, like you said before, Bradley, his flowers. I want to give your flowers. Yeah. Say thank you for everything you've done for MLS years and before that. Hey, especially you're also a part of Team Canada as well. You're the upbringing of what it was now.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I want to give your flowers, say thank you so much for what you did to the city, even Toronto, all that stuff. Thank you so much, of course.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. Now let's say, now there's a Kyle Larens, which he was great, came in the first game, which was huge difference maker. He scored the goal as well. Yep. Then also as well, you had Larea as well. Like just your friends around the team as well. Just if there could be one player that just stood up for you, not even friends or not. Like there's also Stakio's goal was fantastic. Who do you think was overall, like if you could call the MVP of Team Canada for that run?
Ooh, that's a tough one. For me, I'm kind of biased because he's one of my best friends. I thought Richie was was fantastic. Again, you always know what you're going to get with Richie. And again, for the people that don't know Richie, they probably think he's a UFC fighter on the soccer pitch.
He's a tough. Yeah, he's tough.
But he's actually the most humble, kindest, genuine guy that you can meet. So for me, I always love watching him because it's funny to see how he is as opposed to how I know him. But again, I thought he was fantastic. Again, sometimes the best ability is availability. And again, he was an Ironman back there. I think he played, if I'm not mistaken, every minute. Again, he's a guy that sets the tone for that team. He has been since we joined the national program together. He's always been that guy that when he steps on the pitch, he's going to be the first one to tackle. He's going to be the first one to crush into somebody and let them know that they're in a game. And then that entail allows you the ability to want to do the same, right? So he's the tempo setter. He's the guy that gets them going. And so for me, it was him. But again, I also want to talk. If I could give, a second and third, I think Defugerol was fantastic. As I mentioned, stepping up at a young age. Obviously, when there's injuries, it's not easy to do. So I think, the fact that he did that was fantastic. And I also thought that Saliba, when he came in after Ismail got injured, I thought he was fantastic. And he's a guy that, whenever I saw him kind of come and play, he made the difference when he came on the pitch. So I'm excited to see his future too.
Exactly. Well said. Now, what was one moment for you that you're like, wow, Team Canada's actually like a team? Like, what moment was it for you? Like, was it maybe 2022, the World Cup? Was it like, what moment did you really think, wow, it's like we're coming up?
Yeah, again, like I think the first World Cup in Qatar, we announced ourselves on that stage, but I think again we weren't really sure, how to, again, it like any tournament, especially a tournament as big as the FIFA World Cup, there's obviously like a learning curve, right? And there's tactics that go into it. There's different ways that you have to kind of go about the tournament. It's not just, the games aren't just won, in that 90 minutes, right? So I think for us, it was definitely good to get experience in that. And again, the guys that were there that I talked to, they were like, yeah, like we learned where we needed to be in terms of the level, and that goes on, where they needed to be at club level, playing consistently. And, I think it also, it caused a drive in them that they were like, okay, like we're at this, we didn't do the best that we wanted to. Now the next one we're going to really go for it. And I think you saw that in this World Cup. For me, where I thought, okay, like, we're here. I think it was probably, again, I was really proud of the kind of the Switzerland game, and that might be a weird game to kind of say that, but for me, watching this World Cup again, like the Qatar game, we won 6-0. The Bosnia was very good defensively. It was, maybe not the most fun game, but the Switzerland ended up being one of the best teams in the World Cup. Yeah. And, I thought, obviously, the scoreline didn't, dictate that, but that was not a 3-0 game, for them. I think we didn't do well in the first half, but in the second half, I think you saw, a little bit, like we could go toe to toe with these guys. And so I was proud of that. That game for me is like when we're competing against the actual big nations, again, beating a team 6-0, that might be like, oh, we're here. But again, it was against Qatar. Right? So, competing on a world stage in a knockout game, and, kind of going toe to toe and seeing, the level's not that different, I think for me was the most proud, for sure.
Exactly. Now, a little bit on this as well as this. We all know the Messi. I'm not going to go to debate because it's too much. It's too much. Like, no joke. Yeah. Like, I have a guy in studio here as well. Like, we're in this chat. I kid you not. The guy's like, oh, like Ronaldo this. Okay, Ronaldo's great. I love Ronaldo. Yeah. But it's like, Messi's like it's a different caliber. Like, I'm not professional soccer to speak on. I play men's league, okay? It's a different caliber. What he's been doing, the age of 39 to this point. Okay, obviously the final was just it was it just showed Spain like, and it's crazy to think Spain in the next Euro Cup, they're probably going to win it. Yeah. The World Cup, it's just, and they're so young. Yeah. But what is your whole take? I'm not even going to debate because I don't want to put you on the spot, but Messi, what he's doing at just in general for his age.
Yeah. No, again, I'll give my, like, it was funny. I saw Len and Donovan actually talk about it on a podcast the other day, and they were like debating if he was going to play in the next World Cup, and Len was like, oh, there's no way. And then I think it was it was one of the other analysts, but he was like, again, Messi is the smartest player. He had the least miles ran at the World Cup, and he's going for top score. So again, he knows what he has to do to win games. And again, he's very old. What? He's 39 now.
Yeah, almost 40.
Almost 40. Again,
in the soccer world, is that usually old considered 40?
Yeah, for sure. Again, if you, it's all kind of dependent on injuries, right? But yeah, it's very old. But again, he plays in a way where he can, do less physical work, like on his body, and still win you games. And so, again, I feel like doubting Messi or making a prediction on Messi in this day and age is like, you're probably just going to fuel the fire. So, again, for me, he's the best ever. Like, again, the best I think in our lifetime. Maybe not, but again, I don't know how you get better than him. But no, I mean, he's a pleasure to watch, and I think we just have to enjoy him for as long as we can.
Exactly. Now we all know it's the end of Ronaldo as well. Like, no bash whoever watches like the show, like Ronaldo fans, because they love to, like, not attack, but like, it's Ronaldo fans. Yeah. I believe I know you could stand on this as well. If Ramos started instead of Portugal, instead of Ronaldo, do you think they would have progressed more, or do you think when he's on the field, there's a lot of like, look out for Ronaldo? You've seen Bernardo's, Fernandez as well. You've seen he also had a lot of like it's just like, not intense, but it's like he's always, like Ronaldo always asks for the ball, right? Yeah. And it's like, do you think if he's not on there, do they play more freely? Does Portugal play more freely if Ronaldo was on the squad? Or do you need him there? Or even sub off? Yeah,
again, I think it's tough because, you have a guy like Ronaldo who's done so much for the country, so much for the game in general. He's a kind of guy that has earned the ability to be like, okay, I'm playing in this game. you know, like whether
I earned it or not, you like it.
whether or not you like it. Again, I don't know if they do better without him. Maybe they do. I think you get a little bit more maybe on the other side of the ball. Whether that's what Portugal needed, I'm not so sure. But it's one of the things where it's kind of similar to Messi, whereas, you know, Messi obviously doesn't defend on the other side of the ball. He, you know, so at times you're kind of defending a man down, but Argentina almost, like, they're so good at doing that, and it's like everything that they do and tactically and how they are and how they fight is all basically to give time and space to Messi. And so I think it almost seems, and again, I'm not in the locker room with them, I'm not Scaloni, so I don't know their tactics, but, you know, it does seem that, you know, how they approach games and the things they do are to make Messi, or, you know, I guess to benefit Messi. So I feel like Portugal tried to do that a little bit this World Cup, and I just don't know if it's the same. I don't know if Portugal and Argentina are very different.
Yeah,
so
completely different.
Argentina is, you know, they're scrappers. They just know how to win. Portugal have, you know, a fantastic team, but are they a bunch of guys that can, you know, just do the dirty work for a superstar like Ronaldo? I think they probably have more superstars on their team at this moment in time. So I think it's kind of, it's not the same. And I think you kind of saw that. So I was upset to see kind of Portugal end the way that they did. For me, they were one of my kind of picks to win it. Especially with like the year, you know, that or like how good Bruno Fernandes is, and Vitinha, who for me is the best.
I love him.
For me is
PSG,
like my favorite player to watch right now. So yeah, I thought they were going to do much better, but yeah, it's just different. Ronaldo's like when you have that debate, I think characteristically, yeah, they're like the way they play the game is differently, and I think at an older age, I think the way that he plays, like the way that they play, I think it benefits Messi for me, because Ronaldo was always like pure force, insane athlete. Individual, fantastic goal scorer, just a winner, an ultimate competitor. And Messi was those things too. Maybe not as you know, dominant physically, but here he's still above everyone else.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Now, who was the best player that you ever played against?
Ooh, ever played against? That's a tough one. I think the best player that I played against would be David Silva. Ooh. Probably. So yeah, when
Spanish legend.
Yeah, again, I played against a lot of players. Again, they weren't at their kind of peak. Again, I played against Zlatan. I played against Lampard, Rooney. Played with Blaise Matuidi, World Cup winner. So I've played with a lot of great players and against great players. Steven Gerrard when he was at LA. But for me, when he was like, this was still kind of, this was my first year with TFC. It was actually when we played Manchester City in a friendly. It was actually one of my first appearances with them, so I was super nervous. And yeah, so like Manchester City came and we played. It was a friendly. I think it was on their preseason tour. And yeah, so that was the team when they had
Dzeko, Aguero.
So Aguero came on. I remember he came on as a sub, and like I was a kid.
I was at the game. I remember exactly. Hard and net. This team was stacked.
Yeah, stacked. Like,
didn't they win Champions League just before that or something?
Something, yeah. Bro. But like
Company, Jesus, the list goes on and on.
Toure was in there, like giant, and I was just this little scrawny kid, just signed, and like I come on I'm on the pitch, and I'm standing like a kickoff. I'm standing next to Yaya Toure, and then it's huge, and then Aguero didn't start, but he came on. So I'm like, again, I remember I tried to press him one time. He just chopped me bad, bro. And I was like, yeah, there's levels. But yeah, for me, David Silva, just in terms of the toughest to play against, I remember like, again, I was still a new pro at that time, so it might have been a bit different when I was older, but I still like, you couldn't get close to
levels,
that guy.
Yeah.
You just couldn't get close. Like his ability to like manipulate space and kind of just receive the ball, and his first touch being so good that it's already gone by the time you get there, and then he's in a new space, was just like, you know, it was
like
art.
Magician.
Yeah, it was art.
Like Zidane-esh.
Yeah,
So
it's just like it's just so smart, and just like there's some guys, and again, like relate it back to Messi. There's some guys you watch, and like it's just like every decision they make is the right decision. And it's like, how can you do that? Like, again, mental fatigue. When you're tired, that's when you start to. But it's just these guys, like they're like all the decisions they make, like their ideas, and then it comes down to execution. And yes, he was one that was super fun to play against. But yeah, I was just like my head was turning every single time I tried to press him. But
and the aggressiveness as well, like you said there. It's funny because I believe you know Trinity Bellwoods.
Yeah,
so I played with him. Well, obviously that's off season. He wasn't there before, so when it was off season, so we had to be quiet. But now it's whatever. Because I talked to him here and there. Morgan. So he played pickup. Let me tell you,
Ashton Morgan.
Yes, I kid you.
One of my great friends.
He's the best.
Yeah.
And I believe his coffee shop. Because I always drive by there. I say hello to
Sonder. Fantastic coffee shop, by the way. Yeah.
And kid you not, I put him. I'm like, I'm like to my buddies. I was younger. I'm like, this is great against professional, right?
Yeah.
Kid you not. I'm going to get the ball, one shoulder. I was like, holy, and no joke, this is like legit.
Yeah.
Like he was just rocking us, and he was with somebody else. I forgot what his name was, but it's different.
Yeah.
Like, my buddies were scoring goals. Like, this is great against older guys. Like, like we think we're great, but you go against a guy like that. Yeah. I got home. I'm like, I'm like, you know what? Let me go. I'll stay in my man's league forever. This is great. No, but like even Ashton Morgan as well. Like, he was great.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Listen, Ash was. Again, one of my good friends, and also it's funny that you say he does, because Ash is like a guy that's like, if you try, like he's like.
Yeah,
he's like a boulder.
Oh, I felt
he's like again, he's not tall like the tallest guy, but he's a brick.
Like Loretta, similar. They'll give it to you.
Yeah, and it's actually funny too. Like we go back to talking about like the Toronto FC like academy days. Like we used to play in like the senior academy. Like Ash was already on the first team then, but it was like guys like Daniil Henry, Ashton, and like when I kind of came to the academy, they had just graduated to the first team. But the league that we were playing in for we were like 16, 17, we were playing in like the old like CSL, so we were playing against like Hamilton, Croatia, or like Toronto, Serbia.
And Olympic Flames?
Yes.
I remember one time I didn't make it, but no offense, guys.
Yeah. but like, so like these were like, this was like
good teams, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the elite of Ontario.
It was almost like semi-pro, or like a lot of guys that like had been pro in Croatia and Serbia came back here, and like, so like ex-pros and stuff. But again, older guys, like almost men's league, but they were still good. And we were a bunch of kids, and like we would, again, so like we were, young, not like strong at all, and we were playing against men, right? So that's kind of where a lot of Ashton and, if you ever watched Daniil Henry play, a beast, like a lot of that kind of strength and that kind of came from those, because like we had to, again, like obviously like we were more technical and things, but we had to grow up quick to compete with these men, right? So that's where a lot of that comes from.
Bully.
The bullying, and so Ash is like the perfect depiction of that. Like,
he got me. That was
Ash,
great.
Yeah, for me, Ash was always playing like in those games. Like it was always like, he was a scrapper. But yeah, there's definitely levels to it, and yeah.
Oh, I felt it.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite? I know Bono's one of your favorite teammates as well. Yeah. But is it still to this day, is Bono your favorite teammate?
Yeah, for sure. And if I didn't say that, he'd kill me. So, but yeah, no. Yeah. Again, he was my best friend on the team. Still is my best friend. But again, I had a lot of great teammates. That whole kind of group that I played with in Toronto was fantastic. There was no guy that I didn't like going into work with every day. But if I'm gonna, just again to talk a lot about Toronto, I would say like one of my other favorite teammates was so when I was at Miami, I played with Kieran Gibbs.
Wow.
Kieran Gibbs, Arsenal legend,
yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And so me and him were very close. I still keep in touch with him.
English Connect,
yeah. So, but yeah, like we we'd venture into South Beach at times, and so, but yeah, really, really like for what he's done too, and again, I just come there, but the humblest of guys, done a lot in the game, with Arsenal and also with England, but really humble guy and just, a pleasure to be around. So he's was one of my favorite teammates as well.
Exactly. Now, what manager had the best influence on you on your career? You go way back, you go to like Inter Miami, TFC, et cetera, et cetera. You even had a little stint as well in Scotland, I believe.
Scotland, yeah.
So who was your, what manager really had a heavy impact on your career?
For me, again, it's gonna sound like, but Greg Vanney.
Yeah.
Greg Vanney, man. Yeah. So, again, Greg Vanney was, the ultimate tactician in terms of how he would set us up for games. And, you know, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, you know, he was a guy that, you know, you would go into a game on a Saturday and have zero doubt tactically, like what you needed to do in your position every single, and, you know, it made it easy for us. And, you know, at that time, you know, we were a relatively new team, or like we had a lot of new players like at the beginning. But the way he was able to kind of get us to understand what our position needed in terms of like how we were going to play, was fantastic. And I never really had that from a different coach. At times when I wasn't playing, and it's actually funny, like, again, as every player that's ever played can kind of go through this. And, you know, when you're not playing, you're always, you know, obviously you're upset, and you're kind of like, oh, like, you know, this manager sucks. Like, why isn't he playing me? But it's actually funny, like, after I left Toronto, and even after, you know, like I've gotten older and I've gotten more mature and I've understood the game more. Looking back, I'm always like, oh, like at times I was probably being like, you know, like, why was I, you know, throwing, not a hissy fit, but like, again, I would, as every player does, you'd make it obvious that you were upset you weren't playing. I was like, well, you know what? I was like, again, we're winning a lot. We have a fantastic team. And like looking back, I was like, every decision he made, we usually won. So again, it's, you know, it's always funny to say, because, everyone's like, yeah, like I've been asked, like, who's your favorite manager? And I always say him, because even when I wasn't playing, I was still developing. I was still getting better. And you know, that's not easy as a player. Like it's easy to kind of like, oh, I'm not playing, you put your head down and kind of, but for me, the way that, you know, the sessions were around, and even like the assistants, Dan Kalishman, who was one of our assistants, obviously Robin, who's the head coach now, who I have a lot of respect for as well. Actually we had the Legends game, and I talked with them for a long time there, and we caught up. But they were, you know, paramount to our success as well too. You know, because, you know, they would run the sessions at times, and you know, if you weren't playing, but the way that they treated players and how they were able to kind of get the best out of people and coach younger players like myself, you know, to go on and have careers was fantastic. So yeah, for me, Greg Vanney, by and far the best coach I've had, for sure.
Was that move hard? You mentioned Miami. Was that move hard for you to go to Miami? Like just leaving home? Because you've been here like literally like your whole professional career.
Yeah. Look, it was tough for sure. And again, like it was, you know, leaving home was and again, all I had ever known in the professional game, and leaving an environment that I was pretty comfortable at, for sure. But I think at that time, you know, it was something where, okay, like I was playing pretty frequently with TFC, but I kind of wanted to have a bigger role, or at least at that time, you know, I did. And I thought, I was like, okay, am I going to be, you know, am I ever going to really get a chance to be like a full on kind of starter here? And again, maybe I would have, maybe I wouldn't have, but at that time I thought, I don't know, like, you know, I'm having to get in over, you know, Victor Vasquez, Oso, and, you know, Markey was fantastic back then. Sorry, I think he likes to go by Mark now. But yeah, so again, tough midfield to break into. And I kind of thought I was at that point because like, I was like, okay, like I, you know, had a couple pretty good years. And then my agent came to me with, you know, I remember we were at an away game, and he was like, hey, look, like, you know, Miami is coming in, and you know, they want to sign you. I was like, you know, it's David Beckham. It's funny too, because David Beckham was my favorite player growing up.
I love David Beckham growing up too. Yeah,
I had all his jerseys, and I was like, okay, like, wow, like this is a pretty big opportunity. Obviously, like big market, Miami, David Beckham, and you know, again, it's an expansion team, so it's kind of like a clean slate. So I was like,
things, you know, are going to get good. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So for me, it was very tough to leave, because again, like I love Toronto, and you know, I was basically leaving all my best friends and an environment where, you know, I was comfortable with and I could do very well. But I also thought the opportunity there was, you know, it was too tough to pass up. So yeah, decided to go.
Exactly. And you mentioned right there as well, Ronaldinho. I got to see you watch in that game as well.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen his touches. He still has those touches.
Yeah.
But seeing what you guys did, the TFC side, it was called what? TFC, right? It was TFC. I was going to say Canada, but TFC, Altidore still could bang in goals.
Yeah.
Giovenco as well. I've seen what you could do as well.
Yeah.
Like, is there still like a spark? Like, you think, like, do you see Giovenco, Altidore, can they perhaps still play like in a different league if they wanted to?
Yeah. Look. I mean, Seba's just
An alien. Something out of this world.
Yeah, like, again, like, you put those guys, like, I mean, again, a lot of professional guys, like, you don't lose this.
It's all mental, yeah.
It's just, it's just the kind of, the joints, the muscles that, once you stop playing for a while, you start to, you start to feel things more, right? But, again, you give those guys, a couple months to get fit, work out. I think they could still play at a high level, 100%. You don't lose the ability to play the game. You don't lose your thoughts. You don't lose, the drive, the mentality. It just comes down to, can your body do it anymore? So, yeah, I think they could still do it. Again, you put those two together, they're, they talk without talking, right? So, it was super cool for me to, one, step back on BMO Field. That's my favorite place. But to do it with those guys that, we had so many good memories with, and to watch Seba and Josie kind of do their thing again was fun.
Exactly. And the fans I loved it.
Yeah.
It brought like some little childhood, they're back again. Now, you as a midfielder, if you could let me know now, who's the greatest midfielder to ever play the game of football?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to tell you who I think the greatest is, but I'm going to tell you, like...
You give me your top three.
Okay, I'll
give me who you think is, and then give me your top three.
Okay. I think the greatest ever was probably Zidane, for me. And there's a highlight video on YouTube. I'm going to send it to you after you can put it in. If you don't believe me, just go watch it.
Yeah.
But Zidane for me, but it's tough because it's close. Iniesta. Yep. Iniesta was who I wanted to be kind of growing up. Because he was that Barca team, throughout that time with Messi, Xavi, and that for me, that's what made me fall in love with football at a high level. So Iniesta, and then I think I would go. I like Kevin De Bruyne as well. If you're gonna go to kind of new,
modern, yeah.
New, yeah. I think again they're all kind of different in their ways, but Zidane for just he's insane, the talent. But Iniesta too. He was the perfect hybrid of a 10, 8, and super clean, super fun to watch.
Exactly. As you said right there, I popped a little bit and said Zidane because that was my favorite growing up. Yeah. Just watching him, he wasn't the fastest, but he could turn up. But smart wise, you see Messi has somewhat of a. They could just stay put. They could just walk, and it's they read the game.
Yeah.
It's very mental as well. Soccer. I'm not a professional speaker on this, but I'm pretty sure you could agree on this. It's mental, and they got it. Zidane, and now being the coach of the French team.
Yeah.
This is gonna be.
No, it's gonna be cool. Yeah, It's funny you say that too, because it was actually something that I learned from Greg Vanny too, and that coaching staff at the time. It's soccer, a lot, again, a lot of it is running, but sometimes staying in a position and not doing anything is actually a lot of people, and especially at younger ages, they all want to run to the ball. They need to run to the space, or they think that if someone has the ball, they need to run to it to be available. And sometimes actually, if you just stand and let everyone else around you do stuff, you're actually free and you're open. And again, that comes with this, and a lot of again, that was a great lesson that I took away from him, and it's something that I think helped me be successful in my game. But you see it with Messi, you see it with Zidane. They're the way that they view the game and see the game is just different. And again, in the modern game, athletics and everything are huge because it's becoming such a physically demanding game as opposed to where it was in the past. But the ones that still kind of make the difference are the ones who are a little bit
smarter there,
step above. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Now I gotta ask you this question as we're winding down. I want to thank you so much for this. Really appreciate it.
This has been awesome, man.
Of course, I gotta ask you now as we wind down. What keeps you motivated after so many years? You're still involvement with soccer.
Yeah, look, I think. I think it's just everything that soccer has done for me. The motivation is to, give something back. And I think that's, as I'm older now, whether, I continue to play or whether, I'm always going to be involved in the game. And I think for me, the opportunities that the game has given me, the sacrifices my family has had to make for me to pursue my passion, I owe it to, not only myself and in the years I've given to the game, to kind of, pay it back and help the next generation. But I also owe it to my family, and I owe it to, the people that made sacrifices for me. So that, that motivates me. And I also just love it, man. I love it. I love the game. It's become, again, been doing this since I was 4 years old, and I'm 32 now. So 28 years, it's who I am. So it's easy, it's easy to kind of, do something that becomes a part of your identity. So, yeah.
And now you mentioned there as well, you said give back. How important is giving back, especially to the youth? If they come up to you like, hey, Jay, what is some advice? I want to become a professional soccer player. What is your advice to them?
Yeah, the advice is, for me, I think be ready to make the sacrifices. Because, when I think back, and it's funny, I still remember these conversations, back when I was kind of in my early teenage years or when I was in high school, I started to, as all guys do, you start to, go to parties, you start to, get girlfriends, you start to do all this. And I remember conversations and, I would have tournaments on weekends or parties and my mom would be like, hey, like, can't go to that. Like, you got this. And I would always be like, oh, like, I don't even care about that tournament this weekend. But looking back, I went to the tournament. I developed, I got seen by coaches. And so like every time you're, think about missing something or you want to go do something, if it's really what you want to do, you have to be available and you have to show up. Because anytime you step on the field, you never know who's watching. And I was told that when I was young and I was always like, they're just saying that because they're older. But now that I'm older and again, I'm starting to, I think potentially maybe I'll become an agent or something like that, but I'm starting to kind of do some coaching as well. There's always people watching. And so, it's, if it's really what you want to do, just be available and make the sacrifices, and listen to your parents, man.
Well said. I love it. Now, especially in football, what's more harder? Is it the physical or mental side of football, do you think?
Oh, mental. Yeah, mental for sure. Again, the physical side is important, and that both can be trained. And I would actually encourage a lot of, it's becoming more prevalent in the modern game is mental coaching and learning kind of different techniques on how to prepare yourself mentally for games. Physical is obviously important, getting in the gym, but that can be trained probably a little bit easier than the mental stuff can. But yeah, the mental is, there's always going to be, especially when you become a professional, there's always going to be people telling you suck. There's there's always going to be, fans that are, in your corner or against you. And, it's just very important that, you stay true to who you are and you believe in yourself and surround yourself with people, that are giving you good information for sure. So, but yeah, definitely the mental bit. I think it's the toughest in any sport. There's always self-doubt. When you don't have a bad game, it's how do you rebound? How do you encourage yourself? But that's part of the beauty of it, and it's how you have you learn a lot about yourself as well. So
exactly. Now, being in soccer for such a long time, I got to ask you, what has football taught you?
Oh, that's a great question. Discipline, for sure. Goal-oriented. Yeah. How to be goal-oriented, how to be disciplined, time management, how to be kind, how to work in a team setting, how to treat people from different backgrounds with the same respect. Again, I've played with people from, everywhere. And it's, how do you come together, and this can be in a work environment. Again, how do you come together with a group of people from different backgrounds, different beliefs, different ways that they think maybe you should play or you should work? How do you come together and, design a plan to achieve your goals? And for me, I've seen both sides, to where I've been on great teams where we are great at working together, and then I've been on teams where not so great. So I definitely know what to look for in terms of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions as I wind down is this: when it's all said and done, what do you want the fans to remember Jay Chapman as?
Ooh. I think I'd like them to remember me as a person. I think that I'm a humble guy. I'm a guy that I care. I've cared about every badge that I've put on. Definitely the Toronto badge, being from here. But that I always tried to give my best. And that I was a player that, whether I played well or good, I always tried to help the team win, and I try to give a little bit of entertainment as well too. I like to, again, if you watch me, I like to get assists and play passes and score the odd goal. Most of them came at BMO, which is nice. But yeah, I was a player that I tried to do things the right way, and I was an honest player, but like to humble guy for sure.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
Now, is there a last message now to your fans watching this that just been with you through your whole ride of soccer and still continue to support you till this day?
Yeah, just thank you for being there. If you're ever around Toronto and you see me, stop me by. We'll get a beer or something. But yeah, look, I appreciate all the support. It's meant a lot to me. It's allowed me to have enjoyment while playing the game, and play for something bigger than myself, which is huge. Just thank you for the memories, because that's what I'm gonna remember when I'm finished. So thanks for the memories for sure.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better. You're an absolute legend of this city and this country. Thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll bring it back one more time. Until next time, guys, thank you so much, Jay Chapman.
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Perfection.
Sweet, man.
You're amazing.
That was awesome. Appreciate it, bro.
Thank you very much.